Welcome, Teresa, Dr. Teresa Towpik from Medihuanna, is that how you say? All the way from the Blue Mountains. Teresa, Sydney now, okay. Okay. Teresa's been a wonderful guest up here in Nimbin over a number of years now, so we're really excited that she's come for MardiGrass as well. She's got a very special story to tell. She's been really helping people with prescribing medical cannabis since it became legal in 2016. And then found herself quite ironically as a patient as well. So very much looking forward to hearing what you've experienced and how you're going forward. Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you very much, Kev. Thank you for your kind introduction, and good morning to you all. Thank you for coming to listen to my story. And I can tell you today, as I was driving from Lismore to Nimbin for this presentation, I got drug tested as well, which was very interesting experience for me because apart from breath test, I never was drug tested before. And thankfully, I didn't take my cannabis for the last 2 nights, so I tested negative, but I commented to the officer, look, that's very interesting because I'm a prescribing doctor, treating patients, and I'm actually driving to Nimbin to do my presentation about medicinal cannabis. He happened to be a nice and handsome police officer. He was quite friendly, so that's okay. That was interesting experience, and I thought it will add a little bit to my story. So some of you may think, why do I call my talk, why do I call cancer my greatest teacher? Most of the time when we think cancer, we think about it as something ugly. Most of the time we hear how I fight cancer, how I conquer cancer, how I beat it. And it's all relevant to me as well. But at the same time, in my experience, I saw another aspect of cancer as my tough guru, my teacher, who's actually bringing me certain insights about my life and my life in general. To explain the title, I am going to maybe read you the foreword of my book, which I am going to publish at the end of this year. So just bear with me, I'm going to read this chapter. Cancer, my greatest teacher. Doctor's story of love, healing, and inspiration. I have been thinking about writing about my cancer experience for a long time. It felt like I had been carrying this book with me for the world to see one day. It took me a while. I didn't know where and how to start. Then, one October early morning in 2017, I woke up, the thought came. What cancer really meant for me? I don't even know why this thought came to me right then. Was it some kind of guidance? Who knows? The answer came in that moment, instantaneously. Teacher, yes, I thought. It has been the great teacher. I quickly went to the computer and started writing. It felt like something within me was dictating the words. I was writing very quickly, worrying slightly that I may miss something. Within 6 weeks, the basic manuscript came out. I kept on writing, and from the book just about the cancer, I have written a book about my life. I'm sharing many of my experience here. I'm very open and vulnerable. It takes a bit of courage to do that. Because being vulnerable, one is risking being awkward or ridiculous. So why have I done it? I feel that my life experiences might resonate with many people. I'd like to show that we are always guided and protected by the wisdom that is higher than everything. In spite of all the negativity within and around us, we are always looked after. Doesn't matter how hard life gets, there's always a way to pick ourselves up and keep on going. I'm hoping to inspire all of these people struggling and suffering not to give up. We are all here for a reason. It is up to each individual to find out. A lot of people say, I conquered cancer or I fought cancer. This is perfectly okay, but to me it wasn't a fight. It felt like something within me guided me to bigger insights about my life and life in general. We are so busy focusing on practicalities of surviving in our society that we forget what it really matters, what is really important, and why we are on this planet in first place. Cancer got me on my knees, made me humble and humiliated, and made me look into my existence and mortality, made me question who I am, and led me to create other experiences in my life. Cancer made me question my priorities in life. The first 10 years of this century were very tough on me. I experienced potentially fatal disease. Few years later, I lost my marriage. And later, I lost all of my possessions, my house, my investments. From building financial stability and hopes for early, easy retirement and life of leisure and pleasure, I had become penniless at the age of 52. I was single and lonely. I felt abandoned and forgotten. Oh gosh, I'm shaking now. Sorry about my vulnerability, but I'm speaking with my open heart. So I was single and lonely. I felt abandoned and forgotten. And at times, totally miserable, feeling that life wasn't worth living, wishing for the universe just to get me out of this planet. Although I did experience moments that I wanted to die, I would never ever harm myself because I strongly believe in karma and living your destiny till your last breath. In my view, karmic lessons should never be stopped prematurely through suicide because they will need to be repeated. So what happens when you experience that? When you lose your image, your identifications, who are you now? A doctor, house owner? Are you rich? Are you poor? Are you a sick person? Are you a healthy one? Are you a lover, mother, wife? Who are you really? What do you do? Do you despair? Yes, you do. But out of these feelings, something else comes. What I realized was that absolutely nothing in this life is solid or permanent. And I mean nothing. The biggest certainty in life is uncertainty. Can we live with this uncertainty? Is it possible at all? Do we need to cling to illusion of safety and permanence? Or can we embrace life as a teaching experience and allow everything to come and go and keep on growing and embracing the fact that, as someone said, we are spiritual beings who happen to have occasional human experience, that we simply appear on this planet, and when the time comes, we travel to another dimension and keep on evolving. I believe now that life is an eternal flow of limitless possibilities and opportunities. We always have a choice, even when it appears sometimes that we have no choice. Life will always throw different experiences and situations. Sometimes it seems really tough and unfair, but we do have a choice. We can hide into a cocoon and contract into a despair and poor me attitude, or we can open up and say, yes, life, bring it on. What are you trying to teach me here? Sorry. And when we do that, the most unexpected events, people, and circumstances start appearing. And that's what I learned. Hope you will too, my dear reader. So thank you very much. This is the foreword of my book that I'm going to publish later next year. Now, I'd like to share with you certain experiences. I believe that the universe is talking to us all the time. It may happen through some posters, people, or dreams. Dreams have been a very significant part of my life. Few times in my life, I got these really prophetic dreams that were very, very meaningful. So I'm going to begin my story with one of these dreams that happened to me in April 2001, a month before I find out that I have breast cancer. So in that dream, we were on some kind of Mediterranean cruise on a very luxurious cruise liner. And I was then with my then husband and my son Pavel. And all of a sudden, things changed. Everyone disappeared, and this most luxurious cruise liner became a shipwreck. And there was a storm, and so we kept on going. Strangely enough, we find ourselves in the desert storm, and the sand was blasting everywhere. It was very uncomfortable. It felt like we were going to die. But then as the shipwreck kept on going, all of a sudden we found ourselves in this deep crystal waters. Absolute beautiful, and it was so calm and amazingly peaceful. The blue sky. So I woke up and I thought, why did I dream that dream? What happened? And then a month later, I understood why I had the dream. It was some kind of guidance, premonition of some sorts. So it was, Mother's Day now has quite a different meaning for me. It was the day before Mother's Day in May 2001. I was just about to go out, And I had a shower, and I stood in front of the mirror. Something within me, some force, some guidance, almost magnetized me to look into my left areola. And I noticed a very small indentation, very, very subtle. For a layperson, it wouldn't mean anything, but for a doctor, I started thinking, why do I have this? It's possibly something underneath that is pulling, a tumor possibly. So very hesitantly, I started feeling my breast. And as I went deeper and deeper, I noticed it was huge, it was horrible, it was quite big size. It felt like it was invading half of my breast, because at the time my breasts were quite small. And I didn't see anything on the surface, it was deep. And in that moment, you can imagine being a doctor, a GP, who's seeing patients and facing this diagnosis. But when you're a doctor, it doesn't matter if you're a doctor when you feel that. You are just as vulnerable, just like any other human being. Maybe even worse, because you have this, you know what's going to happen. In the moment I collapsed on the floor, I actually was howling like a wounded animal. I couldn't believe it. I felt so challenged. I also felt very shameful, because I felt as a doctor I should have examined my breast. I should have done this and that. Why is it happening to me? What's going to happen now? I'm only about 43 years old. Is my life going to end in a few months? What will happen to my son? It felt like the whole life flashed in front of my eyes. But as I was despairing, crying, something amazing happened. It was instantaneously, I had this amazing feeling of calm, and it felt like some form of energy entered my chest and landed itself on my heart. I would even give it a color. It felt like color pink. And it was the knowing. It was tangible. It was physical. I don't know how to describe it, but it felt very reassuring. And it was a guidance within me that was telling me, you are going to be okay. In the moment, I had the knowing that I am going to go through it, but it didn't feel like a fight. It felt more like a transformation. Maybe I started appreciating that this is an experience that is going to teach me more about my life, about my approach, and it will take me deeper into my soul and into my spirituality. So I started feeling the appreciation of that. In that moment, all the fear disappeared, and it really felt like leaving the shipwreck and going back into blue crystal waters. And that's why I believe, as a doctor, that in our society, we really need to connect more with what's within us, with our spirituality, what is guiding us. We shouldn't be so mechanical about healing. There's more to it than that. And life is constant and ongoing lessons. So I realized I had that.
Hey.
Maybe universe doesn't want me to talk to you today. If you listen to messages. Okay, I'm on again. So, once again, today my presentation is not necessarily talking about the science of cannabis. It's just a doctor's story, a human being who's sharing my experience with you through the pain and everything. So, I made a decision, but I need to go for a conventional treatment. To me, it was absolutely the way to go. So I underwent lumpectomy, followed by mastectomy, then I went to chemotherapy, radiotherapy. But I had that guidance in my heart, which I call the presence, the knowing, that paradoxically, it was probably the 6 months, the 6 best times of my life. Months of my life, because all of a sudden I was allowed to take time off. I was allowed to rest. I didn't have to work so hard as a GP. I didn't need to flog 40 patients per day. All of a sudden, that was the gift. The time was given for me. So apart from chemotherapy, I also practice a lot of meditation. I was doing about 3 hours of meditation per day, 1 hour 3 times per day. I was walking a lot. I was gardening. I was reading a lot. And in this meditation, I had the feeling of bliss or of a connection. And I was thinking, I have a choice. I really have a choice how I approach my treatment. So when chemotherapy came, I thought, okay, I can approach with fear and phobia, or I can embrace it and visualize it as a healing treatment. So I had 4 sessions of chemotherapy. I needed to go to hospital 4 times, and I was given a drip for half an hour of a fluid but look pink. So when I saw it for the first time, I thought, pink looks good. It is a healing color. So I'm going to, for half an hour, meditate and visualize and imagine, because remember, mind is very, very powerful. I recently thought about it, and I think it could be your healer or your killer. The choice is yours. So when I was receiving chemotherapy, I would visualize and imagine. It may sound naive, but it worked for me. I would imagine that this is elixir of youth, the healing power, that is going to address my bad cells and protect my healthy cells. And it kind of worked, because as I was going through the treatment, I looked very healthy, actually. Nobody would suspect that I'm having chemotherapy except the baldness when I lost my hair. But that was quite okay. On a humorous side, I have to tell you that when you lose your hair all of a sudden, you really feel the temperature. Your head gets very, very cold. So, yeah, I received, I completed all the treatments. After 6 months, I went back to work. And the 6 months were very, very rewarding. Paradoxically, somehow I felt a deep connection, and I didn't really feel all that bad. And to me, it was the gift of time when I was actually able to connect with myself and with my own spirituality. So, what happened later? I recovered, I was okay, I went back to my normal life. And as we get better, sometimes we become complacent. So I kind of wasn't that consistent with my meditation. I think my diet wasn't the best. I kind of put on weight. What happened eventually, in 2005, I also went breast reconstruction, which was great. And the irony is that all my life I was flat-chested, and all of a sudden I got the gift of better breast after the cancer. But now, there's another journey. 2016, now the beginning of my cannabis experience. And the story is now, usually when I do my presentation, I say that when I heard about that cannabis is going to be legalized, I got interested. But there's more to the story, which I'm sharing for the first time. Actually, I was one of this meditation retreat dealing with some famous entheogen. So we had some beautiful, beautiful vision. And the following day, everyone was sharing. And one of the participants said that you don't really choose your plant. The plant will choose you when the time is right. And when I came home, it was Sunday, and my son Pavel said, oh, cannabis is going to be legalized for medicinal use. And I clearly felt the shiver going down my spine. I felt physically that this is the message for me. But this is my plant, my teacher plant, my sacred plant. And I became very, very interested in it. I started researching, reading. Initially, my learning experience was very chaotic. I couldn't really understand the endocannabinoid system, even though I am a doctor. I didn't even know what THC is or CBD or, God forbid, endocannabinoid system. But I kept on reading, kept on learning. And especially what touched me the most was the story of patients, especially children suffering from intractable epilepsy. And that really touched my heart. I felt that voice within me that I can't ignore it anymore. I can't be a convenient bystander just watching other people, sticking their heads up and fighting for this incredible plant. I had that voice within me that I can't be neutral. I have to be involved because I really wanted to help people, and also realize that our modern medicine is too stuck on evidence-based, on synthetic molecule that we need to bring more soul and more spirituality into our modern medicine. Yes, so I started, presented for the first time at Hemp Expo 2017 in May. I stood on stage for about 15 minutes. I was very scared. Someone videotaped, so when I look back at this video, I thought, oh my gosh, I look like a scared mouse here. But it was the case, feel the fear and do it anyway, because I was standing up. I think I was probably the first GP who actually stood on the stage. Maybe not, I don't know. But anyway, that took quite a bit of courage, that 15-minute presentation, that when I said, yes, it is important therapeutic agent and we need to learn about it, we need to embrace it, and we just can't ignore it anymore. So that's how my cannabis journey started. Then I was spent a lot of time fighting for it. From July 2017 till March 2018, I couldn't get any approval for any patient. I spent hours doing paperwork. There was one patient who was quite famous. She suffered from Parkinson's disease. And we couldn't obtain approval for her for about 6 or 7 months. Eventually we did. And in March 2018, the floodgates kind of opened up, and we were able to start prescribing. The process became a little bit easier. But it was very hard work for me because I was GP, seeing 30 to 40 patients per day, but I would come home about 6 o'clock. I would study cannabis. Then I was processing my application till about 11, 12 o'clock. I would wake up 6 o'clock in the morning, and then I started writing the book, Introduction to Medicinal Cannabis, which is a very simple, humble book. But trust me, it's not very easy to write a simple book. I thought I needed something. It was more like a position statement, that book. But here it is. This is the plant. This is a simple introduction. But yeah, you need to learn about it. And I prescribed medicinal cannabis for many patients. And sometimes the results were almost miraculous. One of the patients told me, like, before seeing you, I was considering committing suicide, but now I feel that my life is back on track. And when you hear stories like that, you can't really ignore it. So then I decided that I need to teach other doctors. I need to reach out. Because feeling that coming from this conventional medicine as a conventional GP, my voice might be heard. So I will encourage other doctors. So now I'm running lots of Zoom workshops teaching doctors how to prescribe medicinal cannabis. But then I feel the last, and I was going to publish my personal book the end of 2019, but then something else happened. Cancer came back. And I had another dream in April 2019, the month before I got cancer. I guess I need to be careful about April and May from now on, because things seem to be happening for me. So in April 2019, in a dream, I was sort of suspended in a dark space. It felt comfortable and velvety. It felt like being back in the uterus. And in that space, the voice said to me, when you have a problem, don't focus on the problem, raise your vibration. So I thought, oh, what's this dream all about? And again, following month, around middle of May, how it happened, I developed quite a severe left shoulder pain for a few nights. The pain was excruciating severe. It actually felt like someone put a hot iron to my arm. And it was only at night, wasn't happening during the day. So I thought, as a doctor, this is a red flag for me. That's suspicious. I better do something about it. I had a couple of chiropractic treatments, but they didn't help me all that much. But then I ordered a whole body bone scan. And I was thinking, oh, it's probably just degenerative changes, maybe some kind of tendonitis or bursitis or anything. But when I read the report again, that feeling in my chest came, and I was really so disappointed. Because the report said that my left lung was flooded with fluid. I had tumors throughout my pleura, which is lining of the lung. I had tumors in my upper lung. I had mediastinal tumor. I wasn't meant to do that, sorry. I don't want to cry. But anyway, I also had a cancer spot in my lower sternum, right clavicle, lower back, both hips, right thigh, left thigh. And then I was shocked. I was really disappointed because I thought it doesn't need to teach me anymore, but I've learned my lesson. Obviously, I didn't. So when the decision came, what do I do about it? I felt cannabis is going to be an essential part of my treatment, but also being conventional doctor, I like integration. I believe in integration. I believe that modern medicine is not that all evil, but there are aspects of that should be integrated. It's just my personal approach, right or wrong, I don't know, but that's what I believe in. So it was very confusing in the beginning. I was trying cannabis. Certain people in the black market helped me a lot. I was pushing high doses of THC, CBD, but I was also on conventional drugs. And I felt from May 2019 till August, I felt shocking. I felt so horrible. I had so many adverse effects. I didn't know what was causing on. What was causing what? Whether it was drugs, conventional, or it was too much THC or too much CBD. My appetite has gone completely. And my food was 1 egg per day, which I spent all day eating, bit by bit, because I just couldn't swallow anything. The appetite was shocking. I was experiencing horrible, dull abdominal pain. It felt like as if someone kicked me in the gut. And then I had to run to the toilet and have painful defecation. I also went through periods of despair. I was completely lost. I was completely confused. I was trying to understand what's going on. What is the message for me? Why do I need to suffer so much? And these 3 months were so tough that I was even considering seriously to stop everything and let the cancer take me, because I'm quite a functioning person. And to me, being so incapacitated, I couldn't do this, I felt. So in August, I went to my oncologist and I said to him, now I want to try cannabis only and alternative treatments. I'm going to stop my conventional therapy and give me 3 months and see what happens. So he said, okay, if that's what you want to do, I know you're a responsible person, let's do it. So from September till December, I stopped everything. I was just taking cannabis, but also meditation was very important for me, so I was doing 3 hours meditation per day again, maybe even more. And also I love listening to people like Joe Dispenza, and I love Esther Jerry Hicks, Abraham Channeling, Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, and all of that. That was really helping me quite a bit. But also what was happening during that time, in April 2019, I opened Compass Lifestyle Clinic in conjunction with Canadian people. And I felt a month later I got cancer, and I thought, what am I going to do here? So part of me, that woman who is trying to please everyone and approval seeking and being a good person, I tried to please everyone. So I was suffering, and at the same time I was still going to work seeing patients. And then in October, I realized I just can't do this anymore. I got so burnt out mentally. I felt like I have no more to give. And there was one Sunday that all of a sudden I experienced really violent vomiting. And then my son said, this is it, you can't do this anymore. So I made a decision that I have to stop seeing patients, because although I love my patients, but I felt like my energy wasn't right. And as a healer, as a practitioner, sometimes when you feel that your energy is gone and you have no more to give, you have to be honest with yourself and your patient and make the decision. So I stopped seeing patients, and I felt my role will be now on sharing, teaching, and mentoring, and being more of an advocate of a cannabis. Sorry if I am a bit chaotic here. So anyway, from October 2018, I stopped working. I definitely focused just on myself, on my healing, but I was still involved in teaching and education. So anyway, in December 2019, after I've stopped my conventional treatment, I have PET scan, which was very reassuring. The scan showed that fluid from my lung disappeared. But tumors got smaller in size. The metabolic activity in the bones was reduced as well. And so I thought, whoa, cannabis works. But my oncologist said, oh, no, it's just residual effect of chemo. Possibly it was. Because later in January, I started feeling unwell again. I have another scan, and it showed that actually lesions started growing bigger again. So my oncologist said, okay, let's try Femara again. Just try one at a time and see what is working, not working. When I tried Femara for 10 days, I knew that it was Femara that was killing me between August and between May and August. Because when I took it for 10 days, I felt like I'm going mad. So I went to my oncologist, and he was very good. He said, oh, just stop the bloody thing. And that's what we did. And then eventually, but I kept on taking cannabis. But what I found now, what worked for me the best, that I actually use smaller dose of cannabis, just about 20 milligram of THC, roughly about 100 milligram of CBD per day. I'm also vaping cannabis, and I'm taking conventional treatment in the form of estrogen receptor inhibitor and Kisqali. And as you can see, I have my moments, but I think bringing my life back to balance and just approaching everything in a balanced way is helping my healing. But also this spirituality, the soul purpose are absolutely very important part of my healing. So I keep on meditating. I also walk a lot. Walking is very important because I know that studies show that women who walk a lot have better prognosis. And in fact, the usual prognosis for my condition is that after reappearing, usually women live, 90% of women die within the first 3 years. So it's going to be 2 years in May, and I hope I won't be gone in the next 12 months. I think I will continue living because I think I have a purpose, I have a connection, and I think I'd like to inspire doctors to open their minds and open their hearts to step out of the just evidence-based medicine, to look into more soul, into the spirit, because whether we like it or not, the part of us that is responsible for healing, the transcendental, the invisible part, we can't measure, we can't test it, we can't send it to the lab. But in fact, this is the most important part of us healing. And yeah. So life has taken on a different meaning. I hope I explain why cancer happened to be my greatest teacher. But also, I just like to talk a bit more now about emotions. Is it working? No. Oh, yeah. Okay. I think that emotional healing is very, very important for us. In our society, most of the time, we live in seeking pleasure, avoiding pain. And especially in 2001, when I was diagnosed with original diagnosis of cancer, everyone was telling me, oh, you have to be strong, you have to be positive. But I thought, what happens to my fears? What happens to my shadow, to my negativity? And I realized that I don't want to suppress it, because I believe that if we suppress it, push it into subconscious mind, I don't want more cancer cells. So now when I feel the negative emotion, I actually say thank you, because I prefer to be aware of that negativity coming to the surface, by being suppressed and pushed down. I also believe strongly, don't know whether it's right or wrong, it's just my belief, that we are these multidimensional vibrational beings who travel through time and space and come every so often decide to become a human being. But when we come to Earth, the Earth is sort of like a playground for the soul to experience the palette of different emotional states and different experiences. So sadness, depression, despair is also part of life, but we don't have to fight it, we don't have to push it away. All we need to do is to become more and more aware of it. As I used to talk to my patients when I was working, that when it comes to emotion, it's like cooking. You need different spices and different flavors in your cooking. If your food was only with sweetness, honey, and sugar, you would be very bored. You need a bit of bitterness, and you need saltiness, you need different flavors. So it's the same with the emotion. Obviously, we prefer to experience fun and pleasure, but at the same time, the other emotions bring more wholeness into our life. We realize we can't have one without the other. How do you know if you are happy if you've never been unhappy? How do you know if you are balanced if you've never been in despair? So I have to tell you that the moments when sometimes I was lying on my knees, crying and so on, were also a very deep moments of connection as well. So I believe in that emotional balance, the appreciation of life as it is, with good and bad, warts and all. And that's how I process my life. And I also, I'm going okay with time. Now, I also want to talk to you a little bit about death. It may sound strange, magic and mystery of death, because death is scary only on a personality level. The ego is afraid. The ego is afraid of losing life, of losing this body, of losing this personality. But we are the eternal travelers. There's no birth, no death, and just transition. And that's what I believe it is, that on a deeper level, we are constantly traveling and choosing different experiences. So now I'm also going to share a little chapter from my book, how I describe death. Our society shies away from the concept, the thought, the experience of death. We are so involved in dealing with everyday life, the practicalities, the mortgage, the feelings, the emotions, just being happy and positive, that we forget to try to eliminate that part of our life. Most of us live in fear of death. We are now the scary part. How can we disappear, our bodies, our personalities? We create different beliefs about death. Some of us believe in eternal life. Some of us think that this life is all that we have. This is it. Everything is over when this life is over. So now, with the diagnosis of cancer, all these thoughts, fears, and emotions came back. There was no escape. Meditation helped me a lot. I accepted that death is a part of life. We are afraid of the unknown. We all come from different traditions. Who knows what happens after? Nobody came back to tell us, except from some cases of near-death experience. I am a strong believer in reincarnation. I can't explain why, it just feels right. I believe that our souls constantly evolve. We come here to learn some lessons, and then we leave. We forget why we're here, and our job is to wake up to who we truly are. We are not these bodies, feelings, personalities, possessions. Once again, as someone else said, we are spiritual beings who happen to have a human experience. I embrace my dying, and I believe that life is a preparation for death. It is up to us if we have good or bad death. We can leave this planet agonizing, sad, and full of regrets, screaming, shouting, or we can open up and simply travel back to light. Personally, it feels to me like going home. I very much enjoy life with good and bad, warts and all, but I know in my heart and my gut that I belong elsewhere. I am not in this world, but not of this world. Being prepared to die anytime is not negative at all in my experience. In fact, I feel more vibrant and alive. I enjoy life, even when I'm sad and depressed. And believe me, there are plenty of these moments like this. There are plenty of moments like this. I still have plenty of unfulfilled desires, dreams, longings, and wants. But each time I feel that way, I don't reject these unwanted feelings. I go back within myself and talk to my soul. Is that what you want me to experience now? This path of no resistance and radical acceptance of each moment as it is allows me to grow as a human being, to feel the richness of life. To feel the richness of life experience, regardless whether my rational mind judges is good or bad, sad or happy. I know I'm ready to die anytime, but at the same time, I'm fully alive. I also know that it is important to get our priorities right. We live in a very busy society. I believe that we have stopped being human beings and we have become human doings. At the moment of death, it won't matter at all how much we accumulated, how smart we were, and so on. What is most important, I believe, is how much we loved and learned, how much compassion we had, and did we really wake up to who we truly are? So that's my take on death. Because I believe that life is to be cherished, life is amazing, life is constant experience, it is always changing, it is important not to be stagnated in this way or another. It's important to open our minds and our hearts and constantly learn and evolve. But also, I just want to touch on I know we talk about driving, the loss on driving. I want to say that as a cannabis clinician, mentor, teacher, and also cannabis patient, I'm deeply, deeply concerned about this loss. I was drug tested today, and I was tested negative. But I am not impaired. As you can see, I don't look like, I hope I don't look too dumb now. I'm not too dopey. And it is totally unfair that we are allowed to prescribe medicinal cannabis, patients take it, but at the same time we are treated like a criminal. So some time ago, I had a thought. I was thinking about doing a documentary. I'm not sure if it will ever happen. I'm just sharing the idea with you. And I was actually wanted to do a documentary in which I would walk long distance, maybe even from Cairns to Melbourne or even shorter. And I would like to inspire people to walk with me. And the title of the documentary would be Can Walk, as we are not allowed to drive, so we can walk, and hemply bring more awareness. So this is just the idea that I was thinking about. Whether it will happen or not, I don't know, but I think as citizens, we have a right to claim peacefully and assertively what is right for us. I think it's time to stop this basically crazy idiocy about this kind of laws that are treating us as criminal, and we really should be, we don't want impaired people on the road, so I think we should be testing for the level of impairment, not at the level of THC. But we as people can change the law. We can do it Gandhi way. We can simply walk and peacefully claim what is right for us. And now, one more slide. But it's not showing. Oh, there it is. Okay, so my take on life is accepting death, accepting the fact that I'll be gone one day, may happen anytime, but what I am connecting with is the joy, the vibrance, the beauty of life, and I think this is the most important part of my healing. The cancer is not gone, I still have lesions, but I think my life is very rich. And paradoxically, it is due to that experience. So thank you, cancer. I know it sounds crazy, but thank you for waking me up for who I am. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Teresa. That's a really, really very special thing to share with us all. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Teresa at all? Or
okay, I'm still here.
Yeah, I was going to say, and of course, if you prefer to speak privately, you know, you'll be hanging around after this, won't you?
Yeah, I will be.
Yeah, feel free. Louise would like to say.
Thank you so much, Teresa.
Thank you, Lisa.
For that very inspiring talk.
Thank you.
I just wanted to get back a little bit to what levels of THC and CBD you are taking. Mm-hmm. And can you explain why you're taking less THC and more CBD?
Yeah, because too much CBD is too much for me. Basically, I'm unable to cope with it.
Too much THC?
Too much THC is making me... I tried to push about 100 milligram of THC, and it was impossible to live with it. So I think everyone is different. That's why, you know, when it comes to cannabis, it's so individualized and personalized. And plus, I think we need more research about, you know, right doses of THC, CBD, other cannabinoids, therapies, and flavonoids. I think we still... there's so much to learn. But I simply wasn't able to tolerate more than about 20 milligram of THC. When I was taking about 100 milligram, I felt like I was like a zombie. And it was impossible for me to cope. But with a smaller amount, I feel it's helping me, definitely it's helping me to sleep. Because on days when I take so-called cannabis holiday, I really struggle with sleep. And plus, I think it's really definitely helping my mood, hot flushes. That's a good observation, hot flushes, because when I don't take cannabis, what happens let's say I may stop for maybe 24 to 48 hours. One of the side effects of aromacin, which is estrogen inhibitor, estrogen receptor inhibitor, you can get hot flushes, and then sometimes I'm going through 5 pajama changes. So I just wonder, I would be interested to find out a bit more about the effect of cannabis on menopause, because I'm observing this effect. Yeah, so I think that dose feels right for me, and that's what I'm doing.
So as you know, I treat a lot of cancer, and one thing I have really noticed that I was wanting to run by you, people with cancer seem to be able to tolerate a lot more THC than I can. Yeah. And I just sort of got a little bit of a theory that the endocannabinoid system absorbs what it needs. So I'm starting now to sort of bring my clients to a level where they're just feeling it. Do you know? And
That's
some
right,
people
yeah.
can tolerate more, some people less.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we really need to treat it very individually. The approach that one size fits all is not going to work here. So in modern medicine, we are very oriented about on evidence-based, precise, exact dosing and so on. But, there's more to healing than just that. So I think also what cannabis, I'm teaching cannabis, other doctors with regards to cannabis, you really have to spend a lot of time with your patients, feel your patient, talk to them, listen to their concerns. That's very important part of the therapeutic approach because unfortunately what happened with modern medicine, which is very, very sad, we have these huge medical centers and we are basically practicing 5 minutes medicine, but we are forced to do that because if someone has to see 30, 40 patients, how can you be a proper clinician, healer, and so on? With healing, we need to be more individualized, more personalized. But I also believe that if we go more into personalized, individualized medicine, like with cannabis and other plants as well, what will happen? There will be less people sick. So will be huge saving on cost of health economy and so on. So I think cannabis is an amazing plant. I think it is my sacred plant, it is my teacher plant. And I think cannabis now is opening out the doors for other aspects of healing to come into modern medicine. And I think a lot of doctors are embracing that.
Thank you. Any more? Oh, yep, just over here.
Thank you very much for that wonderful talk. I just wanted to know, when you were prescribing, did you find that the weight actually, in relation to THC and absorption, really had an impact on the dose that someone was given?
Look, it is, when it comes to cannabis, we obviously do the approach start low, go slow, and it is very individual for every patient. That's why, you need to work individually for each patient. It's interesting. I think it's probably due to differences in the tone of the endocannabinoid system. I strongly believe in the theory of endocannabinoid system deficiency, that perhaps there's this balance in between CB1 and CB2 receptors, maybe not enough or too much endocannabinoids and so on. And everyone has different level of deficiency. And it's very interesting. Even we prescribe for chronic pain, but it's not the same preparation for every patient. Some patients will respond just to low THC, high CBD. Some of them may require higher THC level. So the ratio between the cannabinoids is established when we are dealing with the patient. We start maybe with just CBD, when we start adding a little bit more and see how they are responding. So it takes a bit of time, but once patients are better, they do very well.
And the other thing was, have you found that patients who have been users of cannabis for a long time can actually tolerate higher levels of say, THC?
Majority of my patients have actually been taking sort of smaller doses of THC. We generally don't need to go more than about 30 milligrams of THC per day. And it's interesting. Once again, what I'm noticing is that the variation among different patients based on individual response.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Teresa Towpik, for sharing that very personal story. Thank you.